By clicking on this video, there's a high chance you're holding on to your catalytic converters, waiting for prices to climb. I get it, nobody wants to sell low. But what if I told you that waiting could be the biggest mistake you have made this year? Palladium is on a path most people aren't seeing, and if you don't understand what's happening, you could end up selling for far less than you expected. That's why today we're diving deep into the real market forces at play. We've just returned from the International Precious Metals Institute Winter Conference with exclusive insights, and we're breaking down everything you need to know about palladium, the converter surplus, and why the market is about to shift in a way you might not expect. Welcome to Noble6 Talks. I'm Ed Schwenk, and with me today is Rich Pelletier. We're excited to bring you today's discussion. Filmed at the end of February 2025 for reference, right? We're fresh off our return from the IPMI Winter Conference in Orlando, Florida. And for those of you unfamiliar with the IPMI, it's a global platform for the precious metals industry, bringing together experts through regional and international chapters, working committees, and exclusive seminars. It's the place where top minds in the industry exchange insights, tackle major market trends, and uncover opportunities that most people miss.
That's right. And one of the hottest topics at this year's IPMI Winter Conference was palladium, where it's headed, the growing converter surplus, and the massive impact these shifts will have on our industry. Experts across the market are debating what comes next. But one thing is clear, supply is rising, demand is shifting, and businesses that aren't prepared could take a serious hit. So with that being said, my first question, Ed, is where is the palladium price headed?
Well, I'd like to start with, I want to give a call out to Jacob Smith, Senior PGM Analyst at Metals Focus, for his description of palladium on the trading charts. It was an interesting description because he described it as palladium. If you look at it, it's more of an undulating sideways motion of a snake on the chart. And, that's why we call this palladium as the snake, because traders are currently comfortable buying at around $900 an ounce and selling for around $1,000 an ounce. And this channel is well established, since last year, Rich? That's what we've been seeing. So basically, palladium's flatlined, this undulating snake on the charts. Kind of interesting. I think it's cool.
That is cool.
But, palladium has been in a long-term downtrend, as we all know, and it's continuing to do so. Now remember, 70% of the palladium, of the converter loadings is palladium. And these older vehicles have a high doping of palladium now. And once all those converters come back into the recycling market, it's going to affect the price.
And why will it affect the price?
Well, we already have a surplus of palladium in the market today. So when all these converters hit the recycling market, the price of palladium is going to drop further.
Well, that's the next question. How much could palladium drop?
Well, if you look at the 15-year price average, we're currently trading a bit above the average. So in view of the historical price, today's palladium price looks good. It really does. When this surplus metal hits the market in the next year going forward, we could see another 10 to 20% drop in the price.
Wow, another 10 to 20% drop.
Yeah. And I remember when I first got into the market, palladium was sub 200. This is 30 years ago before There was demand. Now we have demand for catalytic converters, but that's what it is.
How much extra palladium could hit the market?
Well, this is me. This is my opinion, right?
Yeah, this is just our opinions talking
so
here.
I think we could see an extra 300 to 400,000 ounces coming into the market each year over a 3 to 4 year window, causing serious oversupply issues.
That's a lot of ounces. You said 300 to 400,000 ounces?
Right.
Returning to the market?
Above what we're currently seeing in the market today. And we're in oversupply today, so that's really going to push the oversupply.
Hey guys, have you ever wondered if you're leaving money on the table when selling your scrap catalytic converters? Well, we have a solution for you. We have a converter price guide with thousands of part numbers. Just use it. Check it out. You can sign up today, have access for it today. See if you are leaving any money on the table or keep the guy honest that you're selling to. You want to check it out. Make sure you're making the most profits for your business in today's market. It's super simple. Just click the link below. Get started today. Now let's get back to the video. Now, what about platinum prices?
Okay, so platinum is traded in a narrow range this last year between 900 and 1,000, basically. But, however, in the long term, it's got a slight upward bias because it's not in such a great oversupply.
Is platinum also in oversupply like palladium?
Well, market is imbalanced and it's remained that way for a while. Let's remember that platinum is only 20-25% of the loading on a converter. We need to see a massive move in the price of platinum for it to affect converter value.
Now, let me ask you this. How does rhodium fit in with the converter values?
Well, supply and demand are in balance. Rhodium looks to have peaked at about 5,000 an ounce. So unless there's new demand that comes into the marketplace, we don't expect to see the price moving much.
Now, earlier you said once all these converters come into the recycling market, it will affect the price. So where are all these catalytic converters?
Where are all those catalytic converters that we haven't seen in the last 1 to 2 years, right?
Oh, at least 2 years.
Well, we could probably break it down into 5 categories, right? Let's say the first category would be many of these converters are left on end-of-life cars that end up going to the shredder, and so
they just stay on the car and
lost.
They go in the shredder. It's
Those
lost.
Are lost. I don't see that as a big percentage, though. I see that as a percentage, but just not a large percentage. Now, the second category, I would say, if you look at the 12 to 15 million cars each year that are unregistered, deregistered in the United States, how many of those are being shipped overseas? Well, that's a good guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it's a third. Maybe it's 4 to 5 million of those cars. Perhaps. And so these PGMs, they don't make it back into the North American supply chain. So we're not seeing those. But that's kind of normal every year. It's been an uptick, though, the last couple of years. More exports.
Stuffed into shipping containers and shipped overseas.
Yep. And, overseas, if they end up in some of those markets over there, what's happening to those converters? Well, they don't have to go through a smog check, right? So they cut those off and they end up in the supply chain on that continent.
Right.
So it's not in our numbers. So the third category would be auto recyclers, auto salvage yards. And, you can break that down into two groups, right? Private and corporate groups, right? So the more privately held recycling groups, some of those are hoarding and hanging on to those converters.
Yeah, we're hearing that
waiting
a lot.
for better prices. And we have been hearing that from quite a few, right? But I would say not too many, right? And the second group would be the larger companies, like, say, publicly traded companies that have to report their financials, right? They're continually buying and selling their inventory to keep it moving because they need to report those earnings to shareholders. Yeah. So they're not in the game of speculating on inventory, hoping and praying for prices to improve to make an extra 10 or 20%.
Right.
No, they're happy to buy it and sell it, wash, rinse, repeat. That's what I always like to say, right?
I've heard you say that a few times.
Yeah. So the fourth category, auto repair facilities, tow companies, scrap metal recyclers, they don't have to sell at these prices. They think we could keep them on our racks or shelves until we're ready to sell, But typically, they don't generate a large volume either. And so they tend to speculate.
Yeah.
They don't want to sell.
They'll hold on for the right price.
I don't want to sell for $40 or $80. I think I can get $300 for that thing down the road. Well, okay. And then the last category is, and this I think is this is where it's at. This is the big one. those cars are still on the road. Those converters haven't been taken off those vehicles. You know, in the recent past, vehicles have been on the road for what, 8 to 12 years? Now estimates are saying 15 to 20 years.
That's a long time.
Why is that? Because
COVID, maybe?
Yeah.
COVID has a...
Well, COVID, people worked from home. They didn't put as many miles in the car. And the car lasted longer.
Right.
Right? So they hung on to them longer. They're still hanging on to them because they're still lower mileage. I know we're hanging on to older vehicles in my family.
Oh, yeah.
It's normal, right?
Well, it doesn't have high mileage. It works.
Doesn't have high mileage.
It's a good tow vehicle. So, and I think the other thing would be the people that have been working from home. You know, everybody during COVID was staying home, working from home, and a lot of companies have adopted that. So if people are working from home, they're not putting 15,000 plus miles on average a year on the vehicle. So,
and so they're not replacing the cars for the reason the cars aren't wearing out as much. And we are hearing from the repair shops that their business is doing well on the repair side. So they're seeing more of those used cars come in and be maintained and stay on the road longer. And then the last reason would be, you know, higher interest rates, they equal higher car payments when you go out and buy a new car. So, you know, consumers aren't trading in that used car because they can't afford the new car payment necessarily, right?
Right.
And so that's really the big deal. And, you know, all I got to say is, you know, if you have converters, remember 70% of the loading on those converters is palladium. And its price has been on a downward trend for the last couple of years. Now, we estimate an extra 1.6 million ounces of palladium has not been recycled over the last 3 years. And they're still fitted to vehicles on the road.
The vehicles that are lasting longer, the 15 to 20 years on the road that haven't even come into the recycling market.
That's right. And that's where we base our estimates of 300,000 to 400,000 extra palladium ounces coming into the market the next year going forward, next 3 years.
Now that you know where the palladium market is headed, the big question is, what's your next move? Are you holding on to your converters, or are you locking in your profits before prices drop? Drop a comment below and tell us how you see this playing out. Are you adjusting your strategy, or do you think we're wrong? Let's get the conversation going.